Now I know what you're thinking. Who is this guy and why should I care? Well, joke's on you. We already have your money. But just in case, let me give you some context. For the last decade and change, I've directed, designed, and animated all kinds of things in all kinds of styles. Commercials, animated short films, zombie puppets, you name it, I've tried it. These days, you might find me on the Futures YouTube channel, talking about illustration, the power of color, or my dog, Lucy. But in my free time, I love to draw and play with color. So I've made it my personal mission to understand and master it. So yeah, you might say, I like color. And throughout this lovely course, I'm going to share everything I know about it with you. Now, before we do anything, let's talk about why color matters and why it's so important. Like music, color is a complex and subjective experience. It has a powerful influence over our behavior and a very strong effect on how we feel. In fact, color is the most important factor as to whether or not we will buy something. Just think about when you go to buy your clothes or a car. I like to think of color as magical. I really do, and I'll explain why later. I call this the brand rainbow. So whether we're aware of it or not, we are being influenced and even manipulated by color all of the time, through very deliberate efforts behind marketing, branding, and even interior design. Beyond marketing, and in far less creepy ways, one of my favorite things about color is how it can tell a story. And films are great at this. They use color to help communicate and build their narratives. Color tells us where and who to look at, and it can help define important character traits. Wes Anderson is a master at doing this, and you can spot his color voice in every film that he's made. So just look at each of these characters' outfits. What does it tell you about them? Color also tells us how to feel. And this opening montage from the film Up is a fantastic example of that. And if you didn't cry during this scene, you might be a robot. And look at this. Even if we were to remove the images of the film, the colors themselves tell a story when you put them in sequence. And color is also a great way to indicate who's good and who's evil. Color is such a powerful storytelling tool that Pixar uses what they call a color script to design their films. Here's the color script for the film WALL-E. And this was done by Ralph Eggleston. It's amazing, by the way. But when you look at it, you can get a sense of what the film will look like beginning to end just using blocks of color. Now let's talk a little bit about color psychology. Because some colors are associated with particular ideas or feelings, and they are very commonly used to try to influence our behavior. Traditionally, when you think about the color red, you might associate it with love or anger or even excitement, whereas blue might be considered to be masculine and competent or even corporate. But remember, color is subjective, and there are lots of factors that affect color psychology. Age, gender, culture, these are some of the big ones. For example, here in the US, pink is associated with girls and blue with boys. Now, I'm not saying I agree with this or think it's true at all, but it is a thing. Now, if we were to time travel back 100 years, we'd find the exact opposite to be true. Blue was meant for girls and pink was for the boys. And what if you have xanthophobia? Well, then you will be terrified of this next slide. And also, I'm sorry if you do have it, I couldn't help myself. So color psychology is always at work on you, but it is relative to you and your own experiences. Who you are, what you've done, and how you process the world all shape your own individual color psychology. That being said, there are some concepts that we are hardwired to assign meaning to, and nature is a wonderful example of this. Even if you've never encountered a black widow spider or a poisonous dart frog, you instinctively think, just by looking at them, hey, maybe I shouldn't f with that thing. There's even a word for this phenomena, aposematism. And yes, I had to Google how to pronounce that. My point is, color is a powerful storytelling and communication tool. And the goal for this course is to understand it, harness its magic, and then use it to your advantage. And also, while there are some popular ideas, color psychology is just as subjective as color itself. And while we're on the topic of subjectivity, I'd like for us to do a little exercise together. Take a moment and think about your favorite color. Think about all the other things that share that color. What are they? And how do you feel about them? Why do you think that is? Now, think about your least favorite color. The color you just can't stand. How does it make you feel? What other things does it make you think of? Okay, so that was kind of weird, right? I know. But isn't it interesting to really think about how color affects you? When we're young, we all pick our favorite color. And for some of us, that color changes over time. I like to think of it as an ongoing record of our experiences. For instance, I'm sure all of us have gone through a blue period.